Welcome to Chad Hates Carbs. Today I'm going to revisit a recipe that I've already done before because it's not really a recipe, it's just me screwing around in the kitchen, but this is pancakes. I've been playing around with the recipe a little bit more, and I hit on something that's kind of cool and pretty much perfect for me to eat for lunch, and it's pretty quick. The only downside is because I'm cooking on a pan, I only cook one pancake at a time, so as I'm eating one, I am making the next one. And anyway, it works well for me, but if you're trying to make these for a family or something, you probably want to use something other than what I'm using here. But basically, I have flaxseed. I'm using flax. I get this at Aldi. It's nice and cheap, and it's the milled flaxseed, so it's got a pretty reasonable texture. I have super fine ground almond flour. I'm using erythritol for my sweetener. You don't really need this. It kind of depends on how much sweetener you want in it. The crazy thing that I started doing just for fun was I'm using the strawberry whey protein, and it makes for a really cool flavor, especially when you mix it with coconut oil. So it's like a coconut strawberry kind of thing. It's kind of a cool deal. So anyway, 3 eggs is what I eat. Because when I think about it in terms of what I'm eating for lunch, a lot of times I just eat eggs for lunch. So I started doing 3 eggs. I used to do 4, but that ended up making too much for me to eat. So I ended up having leftover pancakes, and it's not bad to have leftover pancakes. You can just heat them up in the toaster. But I just figured 3 eggs is a reasonably good balance for that, for me at least. Because I eat all of my calories between lunch and dinner, so I'm trying to get my calories in just those 2 meals. So anyway, there's my 3 eggs. Again, I'm kind of a stickler on washing my hands after handling raw eggs. Anyway, so then at this point, it's this is where we get into the don't really have a recipe part. The one thing that I do is I use the actual scoop in this protein. I think it's 1/3 of a cup. I use a scoop, and I don't even make sure that it's exactly that 1 scoop. That was a little bit less than a scoop, but that's about right. The other thing we need to do, and I just realized I forgot my ramekin here. I need to get a couple of spoonfuls of the coconut oil. Because I'm recording this and it's still March where I live, it's not warm enough to have this be melty. The room melting temperature is like 78 degrees or something like that. So in the summertime, this is all liquid, but in the wintertime, it is not. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to try 3 scoops, heaping scoops. But obviously, I don't want to just put it in like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to microwave it for like, I don't know, maybe 45 seconds. So we'll let that kind of get liquefied. Then we'll start. If I can get this screwed down. Alright, so let's move this stuff out of the way. So now, well, we'll go ahead and beat our eggs with the powder here. Get the eggs going. Yeah, it's kind of like making pancakes out of Nestle Quick. It's kind of a cool deal. So, as far as the almond flour goes, I just kind of dump it in until it looks about right. And I'm guessing it's probably 1/3 of a cup, well, it's probably more like 1/2 a cup. And the idea here is I'm just looking for consistency of batter, because right now it's super runny. But I'm only really looking to get it to a little bit thicker, because I'm going to turn around and then I'm going to put Gonna have to put the oil in there, which is gonna, now see, this is still super runny. Gonna go ahead and put in a little bit of flax. This is one of those get some fiber things, so that's probably, I don't know, maybe a quarter cup, probably not, maybe more like 2 tablespoons. And again, it's more of a thickener. If I'm making these and my children are going to be eating them, I don't put flax in because somehow if it's dark brown, they don't like it. They think it's too healthy or something. Anyway, that's starting to thicken up pretty good. Okay, so 45 seconds is enough to get that not crazy hot because you don't really want it to start cooking, but I'm just going to dump that in there. And of course that obviously makes it where I need to put in more of the flour. Now interestingly enough, I was failing at life. I mentioned this before, my wife was a food science major, and so when I was telling her that I needed to figure out how to make things rise better, the pancakes to rise, she was, and I put in, this is probably, I don't know, about that much. Look, it's about that much. It's maybe a teaspoon of baking powder. And this is probably not correct. I'm sure you can, if you make notes in the comments, feel free to tell me how I'm doing it wrong. But anyway, I was thinking that I needed a sweetener of some type to react with the baking powder. And my wife was like, no, you don't need that. You just need oil. So that's when I started putting oil in here. And I also don't use milk, almond milk, flour, any kind of milk at all as a water. I just use the oil. And that gets me my wetness or whatever. It's still a little bit, I haven't put any erythritol in. I'm not going to put a ton in here, just because there's a little bit of sweetener in the strawberry stuff. So I'll put in maybe a tablespoon. Just to get a little bit of extra sweetness in there. Now it's still a little bit runny, so I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit more flour. Again, I'm doing this all strictly based on texture of the batter. So that's probably another, maybe a quarter cup, but probably less than that. So I'm just trying to get it to where it's going to be at least a little bit thick. I do like my pancakes thicker. I don't like crepes. I want them to have some sort of substance to them. But, it's kind of, you can see as far as that goes, it kind of sticks more to the bowl. That's more the texture that I like. I like it where I can, actually feel like I'm eating something. I want something that kind of sticks to my ribs a little bit. So, anyway, get as much of this batter off of here as I can. That's the downside of using one of these to mix your batter. So, it always hurts me to lose stuff. So anyway, at that point, you're pretty much done. You got all your stuff in there. And all you're going to do at this point is take the batter, and this ironically is a little bit thick now because it started to react and now it's thicker than I normally get it, but hey, that's why this is fun, right? So anyway, all you do now is just slap it in your skillet. In this case I'm using a red copper. It's kind of a as seen on TV thing because all my non-skid sticks have been causing problems. It's actually worked out pretty well for me, so people talk smack about it, but I think it was like 20 bucks or something, and I can use metal on it, which is nice because all the non-sticks you're not supposed to use metal on. So it's a ceramic copper of some type, and I don't know, we've only had it for a week or so, and we have been buying the the non-sticks from Sam's because they're really cheap, but they just didn't seem to work super well. So anyway, so as you're cooking these, you do need to pay attention to them. I'm cooking this on 4 out of 10. I had been cooking it on 6, and my wife came and corrected it for me, and it works better. So she wins again. But anyway, you're waiting for bubbles to form because you really do want to get make sure that the baking powder is doing its thing. And as soon as you start seeing bubbles popping, that's a good sign that you can turn it. The other thing you can do is watch for the outside edges to dry out, but it does take a little while on the lower setting. That's the advantage of the higher setting, is you don't have to wait as long. But anyway, I don't know if you can see better. I don't know if you can even see this, but there are some bubbles that are starting to pop. Outside edges are starting to dry a little bit, but they don't get super dry right away. You can test by just kind of sliding your spatula kind of around the edges to see if it's letting you get underneath without having too much problem, but we're going to let it sit for just a second. While I do that, I will get out my... Ooh, I found some cool stuff. So I've been using the Mrs. Butterworth sugar-free, and I guess Walmart also, I hadn't seen this before, but they also sell a sugar-free generic. Haven't tried this yet. We'll see if that's any good. And then of course the giant jar of Sam's peanut butter. And yes, this does have carbs in it, I'm sorry. But this was kind of a cool find. I hadn't seen this before. It's a honey substitute that has no carbs in it. It has no net carbs because it's all sugar alcohols. But the texture of it is pretty incredible. I'll just put it in here while we're waiting for that to cook a little bit. You can see as you look at it, it's very honey-like in its texture. It's really, really cool. And the flavor of it, see, it's definitely got that honey. So yeah, once you flip it and you're good to go, it only takes a little bit to get that set, so you really don't have to wait too awful long before you switch over to your next pancake. So the first side takes most of the time, and then the second side you really don't have to go very long at all. So anyway, I'm gonna try this other syrup though. I haven't tried it yet. Just bought it this weekend. Alright. Let's try that out. Alright. So now, and this is probably only a minute, and we can check it. So let's break it in half, and you can see that it cooks all the way through in very little time on that second half. And then we just take and we set the next pancake in as we're cooking this other one, or as we're eating this other one. And again, this is thicker than I normally would do. I did fail in my making it too dense this last time. I'm gonna go ahead and just ended up making 3 pancakes, I think. So in this case, I am gonna just go ahead and kind of form it. If you don't do that, what I did, in other words, if you let it be a little bit runnier, it will actually just turn in, you'll have a standard circle pancake and everything will be fine. But that was just, I overcorrected, which is, I guess, the problem with not having actual recipes. But anyway, so let's slap some peanut butter, because this is the right way to eat a pancake, is with peanut butter. We do go through a lot of peanut butter in this house. But I have tried this specific kind without anything at all. I've tried it with regular butter. It's really good with regular butter too. I really like peanut butter a lot. But especially with the coconut and the strawberry, and I don't know, it's just really, really good. So anyway, let's check this texture. See if the texture after cooking, after it's too thick. Still really good. Another thing you can do, and this is kind of twisted, but if you make whipped cream and then make a couple of these pancakes, especially with the strawberry flavoring in them, like this coconut strawberry flavored thing, if you take whipped cream then and you put it over the top of this, and then you put another pancake on top of that, and then you put more whipped cream on top of that, and then you put like sliced strawberries. So you have the strawberry flavored protein powder, and then the sliced strawberries. It's like eating strawberry shortcake. I mean, obviously the texture is not exactly the same, but it is very cake-like, and it's really good. So even without syrup, this is a good time. That's good. So anyway, so now the bonus part. Let's do a taste test of this Mrs. Butterworth's costs actual money syrup versus the generic Walmart flavor. It's good stuff. I'm a fan of Mrs. Butterworth's in general, but let's see if this stuff is, I think, almost $1 cheaper. I think, if I remember right. Let's see if this is even close. Because if it is, and you eat pancakes as much as I do, because when I'm not eating just plain eggs for lunch, I'm eating pancakes for lunch, or meat. It doesn't taste the same because I don't have a. That's interesting. It's definitely different, but it's not bad at all. It's not as sweet, and it actually tastes almost more maple-like. That's interesting. That's a good time. I will buy this again. So that's pancakes. That's my update on pancakes. Again, the important thing here, for the longest time, all I was using was eggs, some kind of oil, and you can use regular, like this is vegetable oil or canola oil or whatever. Eggs, oil, and almond flour. That's the basics, along with your baking powder. That literally is all you have to do. Adding the sweetener, not necessary. Adding the whey powder, not necessary. Adding the flax, not necessary. So those are the key ingredients to making a pancake that's fluffy, and like if you make pancakes with just those things, it's going to be perfectly acceptable. And even people that don't know that you're low carb would have a hard time even telling that it's not a standard pancake. It's kind of scary, in all honesty, just how well this fine ground almond flour works as a replacement for regular flour. So with that, thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Thanks. Have a good day.